Hello, Father Kelly here with Lorica Brewing, coming to you on this Sunday evening of the Ascension. We are now in the first week of the first beer that I brewed being technically drinkable. It says to store it for 2 to 3 weeks after bottling, and this is day 2 of the third week. And of course, I'm eager to try it, and so I wanted to go ahead and dive into it. I'll be honest with you, I tried one earlier and in a video, but then the video didn't work out like I wanted it to, so suffering after trying another one. But I think it's a good sign that I am happy to go for this again because I think it did work out well. So let's have an open with it. I'm not a large scale manufacturer, so this one could be totally different. Hopefully not. Ideally, they would all be the same and be equally good, but we'll see what happens. So it's not even sure if it's carbonated at first. There's not any bubbles inside, which of course is not shaken up, so you wouldn't want to see that. But there is always the possibility that it's not carbonated at all. Let's see if we can get some sound. Ooh, good carbonation there. Not overflowing. Excellent. Also good. This is, as you can tell, not a kitchen counter, so it would really be a problem to get beer all over this. I'm glad that didn't explode or go anywhere. The last one didn't, but individual bottles of homebrew can sometimes be different if the bottle wasn't quite right or whatever. So let's see what happens in the pour. We've passed the first stage. Let's see what stage 2 will bring. Good pour. I'm worried it's a little foamy. Oh, actually not bad at all. I'm not sure if I poured it better this time or not. The last one foamed up a bit more. So this is a really good sign here. Let's see if we can get more of it in the glass. Ooh, that's coming out nicely. Oh, a little much. Oh, no, don't do that. I had it. It was almost there, and then I gave a little bit extra pour, and it kind of stirred up well, I guess I have to wait now. So while it's taking care of itself, I'm going to read you what it's supposed to be, and then we can see what happened. So this is a pale ale. It's a brewer's best 1 gallon kit. I didn't make this up myself. It's got Cara red grain, Columbus hops, and lemon drop hops, and yeast of a type that I don't know. But it's supposed to be, it's a pale ale, it's supposed to have, according to the packaging, moderately strong hop aroma and bitterness, a deep gold, almost amber color, you might call it a pale amber, and medium-bodied mouthfeel. I'm not sure I can judge medium-bodied mouthfeel. I've never gauged, and no one's ever said, hey, this beer has heavy and this one has light and this is medium. I think I can guess. My idea is that if you have a kind of a heavy, chocolate stout kind of beer, that's going to be a heavy mouthfeel that really weighs on things and the taste lingers perhaps for a while, whereas a light mouthfeel would be something like a Bud Light, which you take a drink of it, maybe only if it's a hot day. In that case, does it taste good? But then the flavor is sort of gone. It's, almost as if it's water. Passes away, and then it's as if it's not there anymore. So this is somewhere in the middle, not super intense, but also not washes away like water. IBU 32 to 36. I don't have any way of measuring that, but it seems about right. The predicted ABV, alcohol by volume, 4.7% to 5.2%. But this came out, according to my own measurements, at 5.5%. But I think it's highly likely that that's more of a measurement error on my part, rather than maybe it being actually off. It could be, but when you do only 1 gallon at a time, there's certain logistical difficulties. When you do 5 gallons, you can float the hydrometer, which is a big thing like this almost. Looks like a big thermometer, actually. You can float it in the whole bucket without having to do anything else. But when you only have 1 gallon, the gallon bucket's not deep enough. It hits the bottom. You have to kind of pour some into a little beaker, and then it gets more bubbles that way. And So I wouldn't be surprised if the numbers were a bit off because of that. But 5.5% is not too far from the predicted range of 4.7 to 5.2, 0.3% higher. For a first go in home brewing, not too bad at all. So let's see how this one tastes. I bet I can get the rest of the glass in here before it goes anywhere else. The other one I had to drink some from the bottle because I couldn't get it all in the glass because it foamed up too much. This without making things too much worse. Aha! There we go. That all fit. With plenty of room to spare. This isn't an especially large glass. With a properly filled machine-filled bottle, it would probably go all the way to the top, or at least closer to this. But I was filling this by hand first go, so I don't think it did too bad. A little bit more foam than you'd want to drink from normally. If I got this at a restaurant looking like this, I would go, who poured this? But you know, professionally made beer coming off a tap shouldn't have this problem. But again, not too bad for home brew. Let's see what it tastes like. I definitely taste the bitterness that it describes. There's certainly the hop aroma there. I mean, honestly, it smells like when I put the hops in 3 weeks ago. Ooh, yeah, that bitterness kind of holds out there. It's not like an IPA where it's hitting you in the face with hops, but they're there. They've got a refreshing bit to it. Yeah, it doesn't have that, powerful and really obvious, citrus bite and refreshment that an IPA does, especially when it's really made for that. But a little bit's there, which I think lines up quite well with moderately strong hop aroma and bitterness. There we go. So, okay. I have no idea if the alcohol content's right. It doesn't, I can't tell 5.5 versus 5.2% just from drinking it. But, it's not like 7% or 3%. So it's somewhere in the right range. That seems pretty good. So I'm happy with this. If I got this at a restaurant, if it poured a little bit better, I'd be content with this. It's a little bit darker than I expected, honestly. Looking behind me, it probably looks really dark, but put some light in front of it without burning myself. It's got a good color to it. Again, a little bit darker than I expected, but maybe I just don't know what deep gold, almost amber is supposed to look like for beer. But if I got this in a restaurant, aside from the pour, I'd be happy with the flavor. It's a little bit... The bitterness is maybe too strong, but it's not by any means an overpowering, unpleasant kind of bitterness. Again, there are certain kinds of beer that are supposed to be like that, and I can't say I'm discerning enough to know that this for sure is too bitter. It's by no means unpleasant. But the bitterness is distinct. But it says, the description said moderately strong, so yeah, I'd call that moderately strong. Considering how as a first time go, I think it's okay. I learned a lot of lessons about when you add the dried malt extract, which is powdered sugar effectively, fancy powdered sugar made from grain. I had a boil over once or twice, or one definitely boiled over. A second time almost had to kind of throw it off the heat and stir it more, and it was kind of a mess. It came out making a noticeable amount less than it was supposed to. We should have made 12 12-ounce bottles, I think that's what the recipe said, but it made only 8.5. So certainly a bit of loss in there somewhere. Maybe I let it boil too long. Not sure, not boil too long, but boil at too high of a heat. I'm not sure what makes those differences. Maybe I should go back and read the recipe. Maybe it should have made 12 bottles. That seems like too much. That'd be 144 ounces over a gallon. I'll look at it later. Maybe it was supposed to make 12. Anyways, all in all, I think it turned out well. Next up is coming an American Red Ale. And let's see, there's an American Red Ale that I've brewed. It's also in bottles. It's a few days behind this one. There is a Belgian Triple, which is still in the big carboy you call it. It's like a big 1-gallon glass jug. That won't even be bottled until June 1st, and then it'll have 2 to 3 weeks after that before it's drinkable. There's a fourth one that I've brewed. I moved up to 5 gallons, but that one is for a special event. I'm giving it, if it's any good, for a wedding reception. But I don't want to say what that is yet because I want it to be a bit of a surprise. But we'll taste it when we get to it. At the beginning, though, to return to something at the very beginning, I mentioned the name of the brewery as Lorica Brewing. Now, at first I didn't think about having a name for it, and then Diane Clay, the reporter that she is, Cheers, asked me, and I thought, well, I don't know, I had to think of something. And so, of course, I kind of sifted around some things. Father Kelly's Brewing, that's too silly, that's too obvious. Natural thing to think about a saint name, but one of my guys and one of my favorite patron saints is St. Patrick, that's associated with Ireland and therefore with beer, and so, well, St. Patrick's Brewing, well, again, a bit too heavy-handed. You want names to be obvious but have some layer of complexity to them. I think a good example is Tesla Motors, the electric car company. They're not just called Elon's electric cars. That would be too obvious. Then enter Nikola Tesla, who was an inventor of many things electrical, and so and a bit quirky in himself as well. So the correlation between that name and the car company is pretty obvious, but not totally straightforward. So it's kind of a clever thing there. So I hope to accomplish that similar kind of effect by calling this Lorica Brewing. Lorica, which out of context seems like a strange word maybe, but you've probably heard of it in the context of the Lorica of St. Patrick, or the breastplate prayer of St. Patrick. So that's the Christ before me, Christ above me, Christ beside me prayer that you've probably seen a time or two. Yeah, that's good. The fact that I wanted to pause and go back to it in the middle of talking to you, that's a good thing. Again, maybe a little bit more better than I want it to be, but on the whole, enjoyable. So you've probably heard that Lorica prayer, breastplate prayer. There actually is a lot more to it than you normally hear. It's not just the Christ above me, beside me sort of stuff. But that would be a good name, kind of a reference to St. Patrick, something and a prayer that's very close to me. I do pray it often myself, but not just a literal like Father Kelly's Brewing. So Lorica Brewing is what I'm operating under. Now, what that operation looks like is difficult to pin down. So my idea was to do this obviously as a hobby. Clearly, Archbishop, I have more important things to be doing than brewing beer. This is not my primary job at all in the slightest, but it is kind of a fun hobby, something to do that is not strictly work, but that can be kind of done in my free time and literally put on the shelf. What I wanted to do was do this and then give it away, but then put on the label maybe like a QR code to donate to some particular cause. There's a couple things it could be. I don't want to promise too much, and so I don't say what they are yet, but I don't know if that's legally possible. It would be awful nice if it would be okay for me to brew the beer, for me to buy the ingredients, brew the beer, give it away, make no profit personally, and merely have on the label a link to donate to some other cause. Basically, it would be using the beer as advertising to promote donating to this other particular cause. That's my idea. However, I'm afraid that's not possible because the laws seem to say you can't exchange beer for anything. You can make it for personal use and family and friends and those you know. Like you can make it for an event and share it with people that you know with the event because you share a common cause. Even though it's charitable purposes, I'm afraid that donation not in kind, but having a donate here link on the label, that might cause problems. and I certainly don't want to cause any legal problems with myself or others. So that was my idea. If that's possible, it would be super cool if someone helped me out with that. If that's not possible for me to do as sort of a recreational home brewer, I understand. But I would still be curious if somebody knows more than me, what you think of that. Again, that was just my idea. May not be legal, and that would be a bummer, but I'll still probably keep doing this. But I have to give it away with nothing at all on the label. I don't know. But for a first try, all that other stuff aside, I'm pleased with this. I'm happy that it worked out. So it at least shows that I'm not an idiot, that I can at least follow directions and make this work. Yeah, that's really good. So I will do more of this, but with the 5-gallon kit, that means you guys need to get thirsty because I'm going to have more to give away. Because making 1 gallon, that makes 8, 9, 10 bottles. Making 5 gallons makes 50 bottles or so. They don't have any names yet. I don't have any, I don't feel comfortable putting a particular label on it. All I have right now is this is batch number 1. It's labeled on the top because it's not mine. Somebody else designed this, put it together, and good for them. I have no idea how to do that yet, so I wouldn't feel comfortable naming one particularly until I maybe take a recipe over the ingredients of and say, I'd like this to have more of this or more of that or something else, and modify an existing recipe. But that takes time because you have to try one thing, see how you like it, decide what you want to change, try it again with the change, and then see if that comes out that way. Then it would be a new creation, then I might name it. But until then, I'll just be making other people's recipes, and cheers to them for having made them. So hopefully some of Lorica Brewing beer can come to you someday, certainly for free. Whether it's possible to do anything with that, fundraising for a good cause, who knows? Maybe somebody out there does. But either way, it's a hobby that Father's going to partake of, and certainly it'll keep good things in my fridge if nothing else. But I would be very joyful to share with you. So cheers to all that. If anybody has any information that would be helpful, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.